Bring me everyone.
What do you mean, everyone?
Welcome to Everyone Racers,
a show designed for the world of low-dollar racing and oddball car culture.
It doesn't matter what kind of Lemmy Champ or Lucky Track Dog league you run.
SCCA or NASA, we don't discriminate.
as long as you drive it hard and built it yourself.
Join us each week for tech discussion,
Tips, tricks,
As well as news and notes from the world of amateur endurance racing.
whether it's on the spot.
hella sweet,
Or we're lucky enough in
Chrissy,
I give you just the tip.
we're sure you'll giggle a little.
and learn even less.
Everyone report to the paddock.
This is Chris.
This is Chrissy.
Tim.
And I'm still mental.
And we are Everyone Racers. Welcome to not Marco, but a Corgi Toys number 377 Marcos 3-liter episode. That's a lot to say. It's episode 377, and we're going to tell car adventure stories here. But right now, the Marcos 3-liter was at the tail end of production of the niche manufacturer. But the Corgi Toys version was pretty great as well, including an opening bonnet. They were issued from 70 to 72, and the Tiny Cars production run ended the same year as the automaker's Tiny Cars production run.
If you've never heard of these, you should dive down the Wikipedia rabbit hole because there's some cool race history with this car. There's this manufacturer, I should say. So fun to kind of kill an hour.
It's good because there's not a whole lot of other 377s, got to tell you.
Fair.
I also went down a rabbit hole of trying to find one and didn't find one. So this is great.
We're in that weak spot between Ferrari models and Chrysler engines. So
Yeah. These are
Yep.
cute. I like them. Great.
One of the British car built in a shed.
out of wood, actually,
Yep.
wood frame.
Yes,
Yep.
out of a great deal of renewable resources.
What
What
can
can't
it do?
Recurring
Wonderful.
theme.
All right, what you working on? Mental, you are not in your house.
I am not in my house. I am in beautiful Soundtown, San Diego. So I am out here as the last week of the work that has kept me away for the last one episode, but the last 2 weeks, why we've just not been able to get our schedule together. So I'm out here until Saturday, and it's because I'm near the water. I'm chilly all the time, even though it's the same temperature as it is back in Las Vegas. But I had to go to a thrift store and buy a coat because I forgot to bring one.
Aw, poor
Aw.
little boy.
Oh, let me cry for you. I have 8 layers on right now.
Yeah.
It's supposed to like snow and sleet and be sad here in about like an hour. So
Yeah.
God,
Chrissy
really.
ran home, rushed home in her Porsche ahead of the snow.
I did. And I was like, am I gonna make it? And then I just put 4 layers on. So
Yeah.
there's that.
So deliberately took a long weekend to get out here instead of just coming out here on Sunday. Friday after work, I drove to Buttonwillow, met up with Corey and Matt and Dave.
Fun.
And the new course at Buttonwillow, it's fantastic. They've expanded. But a lot of elevation changes. This one very subtle too. Matt's got a couple videos. He of course set a new track record and won his class in the Corvette Challenge.
I saw
Then
that on Facebook.
invited me to stay with him and his lovely girlfriend Lish. So I spent the night in LA, and then I drove down San Diego that morning. So I got to catch up with a bunch of friends. But I guess what you guys are all waiting just to hear is what I drove.
Yeah. Sure.
Well, isn't that the subject of part of main topic this time?
It is certainly
Because-
the inspiration.
It wouldn't be a good story if it was a rental car. So
True.
then this segment would be called "What Gets the Rental." So you're
Yep.
correct. Yes.
Well, I would say you have the potential for a good story to start with a rental car, but you have to start that conversation with, well, yes, I'll take all the insurance. And then you could have a great story about a rental car.
Okay.
um,
So what'd you
sounds
take?
good. But isn't that the subject of the show, of the main
Okay,
topic?
fine.
We have
All
to
right.
wait. Patience.
Chris.
Yeah.
What did
You're,
Mental trade in his reliable, fun to drive Japanese car for?
Yeah, correct.
Something perfectly mental. Yep.
That he would never have a problem with ever.
Yep.
All right. Chris sounds much better than he has in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. I had the flu. That sucked. Do not recommend. Chrissy and I went to the Atlantic City Gamblers Classic indoor car race to support Bruce and just hang out with people. And I'm pretty sure I got it there because there's a whole lot of people inside and the flu's going around. And then suddenly the next day after we got back, I was like, I don't feel
It's
well.
New Jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
While being sick, though, I finished up the automatic transmission swap on the Cockroach Mazda 3. That was necessary. So
you have the flu, a
yes,
thing that people lose 20 pounds over 3 days,
Oh, he wasn't.
renders them bedridden. Like you get an inoculation for this, and you decide I'm in perfect shape to swap a transmission.
It's more like
It was-
look at all the free time I have now that I don't have to go to work.
well, I was still
Neither
going to
of these
work.
things are correct.
Yeah, I went to work, but I didn't go to work. I worked at home, and then partially to stay away from Chrissy to keep her from getting sick. I said, well, I can go work slowly in the garage, and not make Chrissy sick. And
you
this
are
also
you are
needed
tough
to get
because
done.
when I have the flu, my activities involve sleeping.
I took a nap at lunch at work, or here, whatever, when it was time. Anyway, transmission got swapped. We'd picked it up from a junkyard in South Jersey on our way to Atlantic City.
Yeah.
When we were almost there, they called us and said, all right, so it's ready. Can you pick it up tomorrow? I said, I am 10 minutes away. I'll see you shortly. So you can't pick up tomorrow?
Hold
no.
on. You had
I called a couple days before
and
said, I will be here Friday at 2:00. This was like 3:00. Okay, so I get there. They won't say anything. Like, well, you just have to wait. It's not ready yet. Like, fine. I sit at the back of the truck and I watch all this as they pull it.
Actually pull it.
But they called and said it's ready.
Right.
Tomorrow. You pick it up tomorrow when we said we're going to be here
We're
today.
going to be here. And I don't live here. I don't live anywhere near here. I'm just driving by. That's why I bought it from you.
And they're like, hold on. And she puts you on hold. Puts us on hold. And she was like, well, they just need to like clean it off. And we're like, okay, that's fine. Well,
I'll take it dirty. It's fine. No, it was still in the car.
And
all would be forgiven if they had to just proactively lie.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not ready. Okay. Well, we would have made a decision of we're still going because we were in southern New Jersey by then. We were like, well, we're already here. We're not going back. So yeah.
Anyway, got the transmission. I eventually put it in. It works fine. This is the first automatic transmission I've ever swapped. I have no idea what I'm doing with automatic transmissions. So I had to learn how that goes. Like, what's this torque converter thing? And how do I get it in the right? The first time I cinched it all up, it wouldn't spin. Nothing would spin. I was like, oh no. So like backing it off a quarter, the bolts off a little bit, everything moved again. It's like, all right, I did something wrong. So took it all back apart and realigned the torque converter and all that. Anyway, it's all back in. It runs great. And that car is gone.
Bye.
Yay.
Yep.
Bye.
Yay. It's so nice to not see in our driveway or on the street. It's great.
Yep.
And of course, the new owner is thrilled. So, who also had the flu, sadly.
Yeah.
And is it the same one that you taught to drive?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. The black one.
I even put a little care package together in the trunk. It's got a jug of oil and the right kind of Inimetsu transmission fluid and some gloves, the black work gloves, the smaller ones, and a poncho. And I found a warning triangle, like a foldable warning triangle for breakdowns. I put, you're gonna need that, so I put that in there. So things like
Bag
that.
of zip ties for the bodywork.
No, I've replaced most of the bodywork thanks to the bumper you sent me, Mental.
Oh no, she won't hit anything. I'm just talking about stuff falling off of it.
She won't hit anything.
Yeah,
she was expertly trained.
Yeah,
that's just so wonderful.
That's such a Chris thing to do.
It is.
Yep.
That's correct.
And then lastly, I've now dug into the MG. Last night, I cut a big hole in its frame and got rust rained all over me. It was lovely. Yeah, and wire brushing the undersides of the car,
which was
the giant surface.
You were putting that off because it's so miserable, and so now you decide I'm already miserable. I'm going to go do it.
Yeah.
No, it's the next project in line.
It's the next project on the list. But the giant surface conditioning tool I bought to do this is so heavy and powerful that I can't use it lying on my back underneath the car.
Chris spins around on the floor.
Right. Is it a barrel roller or a giant rotating disc?
It's got it's a big drum in the front of it, that
Yes.
yeah,
All right.
but
I have to get one of those because Tim and I have to pull the roof off the limo. So yeah.
yeah, well, this one doesn't seem
Yes.
to be of much use to me now because this is what I bought it for, and I can't like holding it over your head, lying on the ground is terrible. So
Not
Make
even like
me an
bench
offer.
pressing.
We'll talk.
Like
Yeah.
bench,
Yeah.
If
bench.
you want to sell the tool? Well,
It is
yeah,
Eastwood. We got it on sale. So
we did.
Give me a
Yeah.
price.
Yep.
So anyway, so that's what I'm doing now. I cut a giant hole in there last night and I sprayed a bunch of rust converter and things as far as I could reach in the frame. And now I've got some mess. So now I'm going to be doing some frame repair on a 65-year-old British car and then continuing other the delightful task of cleaning and painting the underbody of a 65-year-old car that's not on a rotisserie. It's awesome.
So much fun.
I can't wait. Anyway, Chrissy, why don't you tell the boys what you've been up to?
It is birthday season. So 2 weeks ago, before Atlantic City was my birthday, last week was Chris's birthday. So we celebrate a little bit. I stayed away from the sicko, so I did stuff around the house while basically I saw each other for dinner and we stayed far away from each other in the same bed. And that's about the only time we saw each other last week, which was great. But so far it seems like it worked, so that's good.
Which
And
was
then
great.
and then
Hey,
the
she didn't get
Eagle-
sick.
I did not. And then there was the Super Bowl and the Eagles won, which is amazing. So
Philadelphia is now enjoying a week of quiet contemplation after.
Less fires than had they lost.
maybe,
Yep.
maybe.
Probably
Ish.
debatable.
I don't
Ish.
know.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure. It's hard to tell because Chrissy said something earlier that they were destruction was gonna happen either way. Are they just happy about it or are they just mad about it? So
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Such as they do. Yes, there's
Well,
destruction
think of
everywhere.
it. The terms of the story you would tell is, yo, man, my car got flipped over, lit on fire because the Eagles won the Super Bowl.
I mean,
Or my car flipped over and set on fire because those pack of losers couldn't friggin' beat a bunch of people from Kansas.
You're not wrong.
I think it's more of I flipped my car over and lit it on fire.
Because the Eagles won.
Woo!
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, it's great. We're celebrating all kinds of fun. Everybody's so happy here. It's so funny when right before the game, everybody go birds is what we say to each other. And that's all, like we open the door for somebody, that's all you say. So yeah, it's like everybody likes each other. And fortunately, everybody still seems to like each other because we all won. So it's all good.
If you guys have never had the joy of watching Chrissy while she is watching the Eagles play, there is a mean side of her that I did not know existed. Just, constant. Oh, is that what you idiots are going to do? I mean, man, she demands a lot from her team.
You're not the only person that has said that, which maybe should make me concerned.
It's a
Fortunately,
very
at my
Philly fan thing to do.
Fortunately, at
No
my
one likes
parents'
us. We don't
house,
care.
We're all like that at my parents' house, so that's what's great, except for Chris, of course. And I have to add that my 5-year-old nephew is still confused, obviously not watching the game, but he comes over to me to look at if I'm happy or sad. So he if there's something that's happening, he'll be like, he tries to take my response of like, "Are you happy? Or sad?" And I say, "Yeah," and he goes, "Yeah." And so, yes, we're still trying to understand reactions to things that happened at the Eagles game. So anyway, enough about Eagles. Tim, what do you got going on?
Well, before we took a little trip to Colorado, we got a little bit of work done on the Chevy Love over at Gates's place at Driven Garage. We went over there, pulled the motor out, measured a couple of things, cut a bunch of the firewall and trans tunnel out, and we're using our cardboard aided design to make a new section for that. The engine fit the way it was, but there's a couple of sensors and more importantly, the thermostat that you can't get to easily. So we're going to be nice to the future us and give us a little bit of room and an access panel there. So working on that a little bit, which is cool. So it's amazing how well that thing fits in there. Even the shifter location is going to be good enough for the truck, so we won't need to mess with that too much. And then we went to Colorado to Copper Mountain, did a little snowboarding, and survived another trip without injuring myself. Yay for me. which is so good.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. You never know. And now I am 2 days into my bathroom remodel. So got the demolition hammers out, knocked a couple of walls down, and we're getting now I have to reroute a bunch of electrical and move plugs and switches and all of the things. So this is probably going to be an 8 to 12 week project. So keep me busy.
I'm sure you pulled all the appropriate permits and inspections with the
absolutely
city.
Yeah.
That is such a West Coast or East Coast thing to say. We don't know. The wild west out here, baby.
Yep, I pulled that permit right out of the folder and threw it in the garbage.
Yep.
Just like every other job I've done in this house.
Yep.
Be quiet and nobody.
Trying to give you a reason to say yes. Yes, I
Yeah.
did. Thank you.
Yeah, 100%. I pulled the permit. I'm not doing anything.
Nope.
Just
right.
a refresh.
Just coat of paint. New
It's a
vanity.
refresh.
I feel like there's another contrarian thing. Like if Tim and I were selling our houses at the same time and somebody's like, oh, what happened here? Oh, I redid all this and remodeled all that. And then I put in the thing for the wine and redid the bathroom. And they're like, oh, did you get permits for that? And then they look at Tim and they go, you know what? No, we're good. Hey, what happened over here? I had to do the new ceiling and sheetrock and put that stuff on. Did you get permits for that? No. Yeah, we're not buying your house ever.
Building inspector, stat.
I'm sure it's fine.
Everything's done. Always everything's done to code or better. That's kind of my thing that I have to do. So luckily I don't have to move any plumbing. That was part of the design, but a little bit of Romex moving around here and there to relocate some stuff, but nothing crazy. So it shouldn't be too bad.
Take notes because I'm going to need you to help redesign mine when you come visit in a couple weeks to work on the limo.
I like it.
I got to see Matt's almost finished bathroom, so your resume speaks for itself.
Poor Matt. I mean, when I ripped that bathroom apart while he was at work and he came home, he's like, well, I guess I'm starting this project, huh? Yep. Here we go.
Wow.
Ready or not.
Okay. Ready? Season time! All right. Hopefully you watched some of the amazing Eagles run away with that Super Bowl game. If you watched, chances are you saw some conversation and or saw the discussion, the GNX with Kendrick Lamar's halftime show. We had in-person conversations as well as some some with our internet friends. Bradley Brownell from Jalopnik gives us a peek into the backstory of all of this, how it all connects. For the opening number of his performance, Lamar shared the stage with iconic piece of American automotive history, a Buick Regal GNX, or at least the GNX facsimile. This was one of 547 units of the late 80s Buick contracted ASC and McLaren to build a Grand National Experimental with 300 horsepower and 400 foot-pounds of torque. Kendrick is famously a GNX fanatic, owning one himself and naming the 6th studio album released last November after the Hot Buick. Apparently, the one at the Super Bowl was not this car. First of all, one on the stage was barely a car at all. For one thing, you can see that the car is sitting on a platform with the floors cut out of it, which has allowed a couple dozen dancers to exit the car through the trunk and doors to join Kendrick on stage. The wheels are the wrong size. Car doesn't have GNX signature fenders. The badging on the front fender was incorrect for a GNX, and there's the sunroof, which is a dead giveaway because they never came with one. And how many people did you see that they say, "Why you threw it classy?" Yep. Didn't know all about it, but Chris gave me the rundown of GNX, and because we were talking about it and people were asking questions about it at our party, and now you know.
I said it was a Grand National at first because I don't know anything about Kendrick Lamar, and then like, oh, GNX. Oh, got it. Okay. Anyway, not GNXs, self-driving cars still seem to not get it. A Waymo self-driving car totally sends it through a sinkhole in San Francisco and is caught on the evening news. Zach Palmer from Road and Track tells us the story about a sinkhole that was blocked off by police and is very much in convincing evening traffic. Inconveniencing, excuse me, evening traffic. But the Waymo don't care about that, apparently. It barrels through the 4x5 foot hole that most other cars would have slowed down for. Doesn't seem to do any damage, so good for that. But hey, if it's going to keep doing stunts like that, it's going to get damaged eventually. So Waymo, full send. Just what you want.
And then I went down a Waymo rabbit hole, because that's what we're doing these days, about all of the things. Apparently there's like traffic jams of Waymos that just like can't figure out who's going back and forth. I'm really glad we don't have self-driving cars out here.
They need the one jerk Waymo to get the demographic for their database to study. The Waymo that just has the electronic on the side of it and cuts them off.
Oh, they
All
didn't
those
need to
Waymos are-
send them out here. Yeah. Philadelphia Waymo will
Right?
solve that
They
problem.
would all,
Oh, man.
but that's the problem. They would do it all to each other, and then nobody would be the one dominating asshole Waymo.
Hey, I'm
That's-
self-driving here.
There can only be one Waymo Supreme.
Talking about flipping cars over and lighting them on fire.
How did that
They
car light
just
itself
came
on
to
fire?
Yeah.
they are now expanding into the Las Vegas market too, and I don't think this is going to work as well as you think it is.
No.
Yep.
What's the penalty for throwing up in a Waymo at 5 a.m.?
Ooh.
Is there one?
Probably.
I feel like we should know someone who should know that answer.
It'll spend enough time in Vegas, they'll find out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Oh. Well, in sad news, the House of Drift is no more. Caleb Jacobs from TheDrive reports that the historic Southern California Irwindale Speedway has begun demolition of the grandstands and the call box. Rumors of the Speedway being set to close started in August of 2017, and things got even more bleak in 2022 when the news of the sale went to an LA developer, and that broke out, crushing all of the hearts of drifter boys everywhere. Pour one out for the drifting community, losing another track. Wah, wah.
They did some other
Oh,
stuff there,
well.
didn't they? Do like a Night of Destruction because it was basically a paved bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't Irwindale on the sim? Or is it
Yeah, it's on
something
iRacing.
Okay, I thought it was.
Mhm.
Because I saw this article and then I went to look for it, but this said it was a drifting, and I didn't think I did drifting on but they must
No,
have
we would do
used
the
some of the
figure eight
same-
races, I think.
That's what I
yeah.
thought
With
it
the
was.
jump. Yeah.
With a jump.
That's why I remember it, because that was amazing, and that's not what they talked about in this article, so I wasn't sure.
It's such a small little track. It's mostly known for drifting and the drift series.
Yeah, it was.
They actually had it on the calendar and then now it's a TBD on the calendar. So
Yeah,
The-
it was an excellent pivot from a dirt track that became a paved tiny oval, and they found a very good market.
yeah,
I imagine the jump was not real, correct?
No, the jump
That
was
would
not
be-
real.
That'd be amazing.
Drift jump.
Demo derbies, come on.
Yeah, like school buses with a jump. Come on.
Right? So it's not
Yeah.
that
Trailer
bad.
races.
Is it safe? No. Could it happen? Maybe.
Yeah, I know Cletus McFarland is doing the minivan races at the Freedom Factory with a jump, and some of those vans make exactly one jump. Like they send it, but it's a one-way trip.
Oh, well.
It's fantastic.
Right. We don't do
Go,
an intro
Methel.
for this.
Oh, I thought you say sponsor. Okay,
No.
No.
springtime. Well, springtime for many of us. While Chris and Chrissy are in the frozen, Northeast, but springtime is just around the corner. You know that feeling. You haven't raced in months. Your fingernails are strangely clean, and you're beginning to overestimate your time and ability while underestimating how truly busy you are. Just me? Okay. Project Car Fever. And Racing Junk, of course, has the cure. That cure is right here. And hopefully I'm choosing the right one. Oh, great. Can somebody click on that link because I am using a different book and
Yep.
the
I
middle of
gotcha.
this Zoom wants me to log in.
I gotcha. I'll share. You keep talking.
Thank you. All right. It is Project Fever. Racing Junk has the cure, and it is this 2008 Infiniti G37 Coupe. Quote, stripped and was being prepared for Champ Car. Injury and a lack of time causes sale. Car runs and drives many new parts towards the conversion. It goes on and list oil cooler and all kinds of other stuff. A bit of expensive stuff, but the most famous words in this ad is was a road going full running car when purchased. There it is. There's your answer. Don't worry. It was running when they drove it in there. There's no way this goes wrong, especially since they have 43 pictures, which fills me with hope. This is actually a legit deal. It's in Rochester, New York, and it's only $4,000.
Yep.
The wording,
It's purple.
The wording concerns me just a touch when it says was a full running car when purchased. That doesn't.
Then they took it
mean
apart.
when they drove it in. That could just mean that I purchased a car a long time ago and it ran then. Maybe
We don't
Yeah,
want
then
your
it-
lawyer ball
ran when
here.
parked,
This is
ran when
project
purchased.
justification.
Yeah, they've got a lot of decent parts in here. The belts are out of date, but that happens. But plenty of other acceptable parts to like more than make up for the purchase price if this is the kind of car you want. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
cool.
still maintain
So
the
many
Nissan VQ6 is the worst sounding engine ever, but
So
Well,
many
no one's arguing with you there.
yeah,
Put some whistle tips on that. Woo,
That is true.
woo.
Have a cherry
it
bomb
would also
while you're
that
at
would
it.
probably be an excellent champ car, if not Lemon's car.
Yeah. VQ is not quite the sound of power, but it's close.
But it does make a little bit of power, and they have done
does.
well.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, great. Go get a race
Great.
car. Build it.
Yay, race car. And Lucky Dog is at Sonoma, and that's all I got.
That's all we know.
Yep.
Sorry,
We
it was I'm
we
out of
were late
town.
to
I did
ask.
not email Charlotte early enough, and so she didn't get those results while we were recording. That's my fault, not hers. But we are going to try and have one of them on the show, either Kathy or the other Kathy, or even they've mentioned a couple teams that they'd like to have come on because Lucky Dog is awesome. All right,
And we haven't talked to
you
them in
know
a
our
long time,
roots.
so-
You know our
Mhm.
roots where we come from, but I've never had a bad Lucky Dog race.
Nope. Agreed.
I mean, we had
Revenge
one
of
that
the
our
Dogs.
car didn't run, but
That wasn't anybody Lucky Dog's fault.
I understand.
That's just a BMW fault.
I know.
As that
General
guy
BMW
was
problem.
Yeah, and it-
CHP
you know,
officer told us he was a really good race car driver because he's, had
and
been
then
through
money-
pursuit
then
training. We're
money
like,
shifted.
okay. Yep.
Anyway,
And-
we're at Racer Yeah.
Woo!
That's right. Barber, the season opener was last week, and our previous guest and buddy Brian Trainer got us the results. Now, your winner on laps in A was not done yet in a boring BMW E36. Class B was Crash, and they were driving a 96 Toyota Celica.
God's class was Persistence is Futile. Wait for it, in a 1959 Borgward Isabella, because that, as we've always said, is always cool. That opened the door for a special All Shucks It Ain't Much award, which went to In Search of Excellence. I like that one. In a 59 Edsel Ranger. They had been battling for the Borgward all weekend and had a minor incident which damaged the radiator and took them out of the running. B-Train asked the compelling question, Edsel versus Borgward, the new Ford versus Ferrari? Maybe so. Heroic fix was Frankenstein Motorworks, which after using license plates to fix the hole in their cylinder head for lifter spacers in their -1 MR2, then they went to they ran a 1 minute 43 second with only 15 valves.
Screwed was S is for Sucks in a 99 Buick Regal GS.
Great name.
Yep. Org choice was Maverick Boucher, aka the Water Boy, with their 1970 Ford Mavette. Judge's choice was Battle Cat Racing You Don't Know Ditka in a 95 Jag XJR. Lovely choice there. The regional award was Law and Order Mayberry Victims Unit. That went to Rust Cartel and their sweet 65 Ford Fairlane done as a Mayberry police car. Hella sweet was Rudolph's Revenge in an '06 Jetta.
Well, and to no one's surprise, but terrible, was Dunning-Kruger effect racing in a 99 Subaru Impreza. The IOE was Reformation racing in a 97 Jeep Grand Cherokee. And Halloween Meets Gasoline was Matta Krepp's car in a 98 Subaru Legacy. From B-Train, he said, rookie team owned HMG because they watched the wrap-up videos to prepare, which shows because they were not great on track.
There's some really good names in just this list. I'm
Yeah.
impressed. Yeah.
Dunning-Kruger effect racing always cracks me up.
I'm sure they thought they were doing fine.
Yep, exactly. Fantastic.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right,
Oh,
let's
wow.
We did not get a lot online because we didn't have an episode last week, but I've got some personal feedback. Brian got some down there in Alabama, trainer, and me after the Neuro Spicy episode, and it was very, folks feeling, oh, I feel seen. I don't feel, weird and isolated anymore after listening to our traits, realizing they might also be neurodivergent. One personally verbalized to me was they were talking about finding the chaos of a racetrack very soothing and calming. And then they were hearing the other traits and the thinking was, well, shit, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, well, hey, at least they found their weirdos already, so that's nice.
Exactly.
So true. So true. Well, always gets great comments.
Sure.
Who's that, Sam?
Hi, Chrissy's mom.
Hi, Mom. All right, it's me.
All right, it is story time. We are talking car adventures. What did we do wrong? And how can you learn once again from our plethora of mistakes?
Help you make bad decisions. All right.
Well-informed bad decisions.
Well-informed bad decisions. If you guys haven't figured it out by now, I did mention I got rid of the Miata, so I haven't had the Miata for a while, and it was in preparation to purchase my new to me 1968 Porsche 912. This particular Frankenstein car has a Type 4 motor instead of the regular 1600 in the back of it, and it is 50 years of expedient repairs, make the damn thing run, and just fix this because I don't have time to go to an auto parts store back in the day when you had to look everything up in books. After literally having it a week and working on it every single night, I left Nevada, drove to California, and then all the way down here to San Diego. And I realized very early into that trip, I've been so spoiled over the last 20 years, driving fast, capable, reliable, comfortable cars with great stereos. Because as I'm driving this thing at a max speed of about 65 miles an hour, because it's a 4-cylinder with only 4 gears and will start running hot if I go 70, every squeak, pop, stumble on the carburetor, everything all activated a play in my brain where I'm on the side of the road 60 miles outside of Barstow in the middle of the night in the desert.
And that's why don't you describe what this car looks like too, like once you're done with that part of the story. I think we need to set the right picture for everyone.
It is an outlaw styled 68 Porsche 912. And
what does that mean for those who are not cool enough to go to
yes,
Luftfest?
Luftfest.
It is. In other words, it's an excuse not to restore your Porsche. You just slap whatever parts on there you want, and when they started getting valuable, it was a means of survival for Porsche enthusiasts. And I'm going to throw this out there, including at the time Magnus Walker, because Magnus Walker didn't like spending a bunch of money on restorations. He liked to drive his. And it became a style where now people pay an excessive amount of money to have their cars turned into outlaws. Mine is not that. Mine was not spent a bunch of money on that one. We will link a video in the show notes of an interview with the previous owner of my car, and he had it when they were throwaway 912s and it had no motor, and he had a Type 4 laying around, so he slapped it in there. And I'd spent the week trying to figure out not why the wiring was so bad, but just okay, what was he thinking when he made this repair? Trying to get my taillights to work, or the sealed beam headlights. That was fun, or even getting the sealed beam headlights adjusted. So it looks, if you watched a movie about a guy in the 80s who drove an old Porsche when they weren't restored, this is what that car looks like. You know,
But it's white with a black hood and
correct.
stickers. And imagine the car that gives Mental a 6-foot erection with a cheeseburger on top. And that's basically what this is.
Yes. Yeah.
No matter how bad it is, yep.
Oh, that's
yes.
amazing.
And I'll actually transfer a picture of it onto the computer here. We'll see if I can make this show up as a share.
Yeah.
As you were talking about, all of the things that are making you completely insane and terrified as to why the car is going to immediately stop working, it, like, my brain went to, like, inside of your head with 100 minions all going all the bad ideas being thrown around. So
oh yes. Oh, and when I squeaky thing, I can do this and do this and do this and do this. 100%. Absolutely right. Yeah. I keep forgetting I can't share.
Which one do you need to do right now, because you are so you don't actually break down, and how can you recover from that?
And we'll talk about this because we're still covering the subject of it. Yes, this trip was not without incident. So
yeah, why don't you talk a little bit more about Mental? Because I think we've all experienced you have a hoopty, you're taking it a long trip, you're slightly apprehensive, but like things go okay for a little while and you start to get comfortable. And then there's that thing. There's always that thing. Is it a noise? Is it that stumble for just a second, just to whatever it is that makes you go,
a smell that you are questioning if it's you or if it's the
like,
car next to you?
Or that
totally.
that's slight knocking.
That never happened.
That's coming.
Oh
right?
no, that knocking.
Right. Or
you
like,
you guys are all
that gauge
describing
wasn't
it.
at that
It
point
was
before.
it was all of those things. Absolutely all of them. Why would the steering wheel feel like that when I left? I don't know. And okay, yeah, and I'm driving it to the gauge because as it would start to heat up, I would have to slow down, especially when I'm crossing some of these passes at altitude. And yes, the stumble. And then I'm checking the oil at every gas stop because the car is ancient. There it is. Those watching on YouTube. And I'm having to add oil because that's what it does. And these same taillights that I spent 2.5 days fiddling with, one of them's just out again. So I get to figure that out sometime this week and take that apart. And it is every one of those. And once when I stopped and I'm checking the oil on it, one of the air cleaners, the lid, it just the filter and everything, it just undid itself and was kicking around in the engine bay. So I had to put that back on. It was something the entire trip. And then on Saturday at the track, because I had luggage packed in there, the original 912 had a mechanical fuel pump. This one has a Type 4 engine in the back, so it has an electric fuel pump, and those wires just kind of run where they go. It is a 12-panel fuse. That's all of it. Every wire in that car runs through one of these 12 old school clip-in bullet style fuses. Moving bags under the frunk disconnected the fuel pump. And we just had to get in there and figure out why it was not catching. We squirted gasoline into the carbs and then it wanted to kick over. Okay, so we now know it's a fuel delivery problem. And we start tracing the wire. Okay, there's no gas. There's nothing leaking underneath there. We go under there and Matt Veritas finds a loose red wire running out of a loom. Says, huh. And we start sticking it on fuses until we hear it run. and didn't realize until I got back to his place in LA or until I stopped for my first fuel stop, that we had put it to the wrong fuse because it ran all the time. So I would have to get out of the car, pop the hood, take the fuse out to keep it from flooding, fill it full of gas, put the fuse back in, start the car. Which when I was 20 felt like a perfectly reasonable thing to do. And now I'm 54 and what?
If you were still 20, how long would you have continued to do that without making it correct?
Right? I should like months, probably like years. I've got another car to talk about how the distributor on this old Suzuki Samurai I had, the distributor bearing was starting to go. As long as it was spinning, it was fine. But to start, it would lean too far forward and not connect without the cylinder. So you had to have someone turn the key and then you just reach in and push on the distributor so it would spin properly. I drove that car like that for 5 months. Just park on hills. I could bump it off, or I'd have somebody, just random people walking out of a movie or a bar. Hey, could you do me a favor, reach in there and start my car real quick? And then they're like, what? Just trust me. It's a dumb thing. And yeah,
that's Chris's surprised face right there.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It
luckily
didn't change, by the
I'm
way, on
I'm
the podcast.
yeah, I'm I'm at the house of a friend who knows cars and has an electrical engineering degree, and he's like, this will take us a few minutes, and it did, and we got it put on the right fuse. Yeah.
So
That's
this is
amazing.
a good choice to sell your perfectly reliable, wonderful, effective ND Miata
Yes.
for what you fully admit is a very janky, ridden hard, put away wet, questionably modified, several times engine swapped, 50-year-old German
58
car.
58-year-old. I don't know if it was ridden hard and put away because it's really hard to drive that car hard. But
Right.
yes.
That won't go over
Only
65,
slow.
by the way. Okay.
Right. Yeah, Vicky said, "Don't get any tickets this time." I'm like, not possible unless I drive off the freeway and find a school zone.
Yeah. This,
But yeah, but it's got loads. It's also every bit of driving a 68 Porsche that you expect it to be. It's just so fun. There's no stereo. I actually have to drive on the freeway with these because they're noise canceling, so that I don't go even more deaf.
Why?
Um,
Okay.
but it's a goofy little fun car. And last year when I took this same trip in the Miata, I took the long way home and went down to Palm Springs, came in through the mountains, it was beautiful, and then drove out across the Mojave, through Joshua Tree and Amboy and all these great just desert places. And I'm hoping that it was worth it, all the trouble to get the car here, to take it home that way. Because I'm not going to have to go fast, and I'm not going to be able to go fast, but I'm going to be able to kind of enjoy that car at its most
Is there
base
cell,
level.
is there cell reception everywhere you're going?
Oh God, no.
No, not even close.
Good luck with that.
Just
Have
bring
a great
plenty of
time.
water for me. Plenty of water.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe something that you can spell out help on the side of the road so when somebody flies over that I might be able to notice that you need some help. Maybe
So if I'm not here next week, folks,
get some money
Wandering
out
around the
in case-
Mojave,
in
right?
case you need to bribe somebody who might be able to help you. And probably a
so-
pocket knife in case you decide somebody picks you up.
yeah, coyotes. Yeah.
So we've all had some hoopty ass cars, without a doubt. Taking a hoopty ass car on a road trip is one thing. Taking a hoopty ass car on a road trip in the middle of nowhere is
When
a
you know better.
completely different one.
When you know
Yeah.
better.
most of our hoopty trips, we're
You're
going to
an
talk about
adult.
dumb stuff we did in our 20s of like driving across country. Like, yeah, I didn't even think I wouldn't make it.
Yeah. Well, like, all right, I had my second car was a 1969 MGB GT. This thing was so rusty, and it was like basically got pulled out of a field before I started to drive it as my winter car, right? the motor was fresh. It had a hot cam in it, and I got the overdrive to work, and this thing would just cruise. It was great. It looked good. I put a stereo in it because I was 17, because of course, what else are you gonna do, right? And I'm driving it back from Cape Cod one day. I'm going about 80, and all of a sudden, bang! What happened? One of the ancient retreaded tires had kicked its tread off, and the tread had wrapped itself entirely around the rear axle. I had no idea what just exploded. I pull into the median, which is to the left of me, because I was in the left lane. There was busy traffic, and that was the best I knew how to do at the time. And then I didn't think about it when I pulled into the left in my exploding MG, but they had these drainage channels in that. So I went through one, bang, basically up in the air. I tried to brake. It's great. Some of the brakes work, except that wheel with now that has no tread on it is just
Lock
smooth.
right
So
up.
that locks up immediately. And the car's fishtailing all around. So I get the thing finally under control. Get it stopped. Check for poo. Don't have any. That's nice. Get out of the car. I go to change the tire. Of course, it's a MG, so it's wire wheels. And this one has the safety spinners, which are just an octagon instead of ears. And of course, the car didn't have a hammer or anything to take those off. So I had to put the wrench on those and hit it with the jack enough to loosen it to be able to get it up in the air. So finally changed the tire to, I don't know, a different 30-year-old tire, because I didn't know old tires were bad then. I was 17. No one ever told me these kind of things. Like, he has a tire, he has old air, has tread on it. Yeah, sounds good.
It's round.
Right. Brown,
Ish.
black, holds air-ish. So I get back at the car, step on the brakes. Of course, brake pedal goes right to the floor. And I was like, oh, God, because what had happened, that retread tore the brake line off the axle. All right. Well, I'm only like 40 miles from home on the highway. I can do this. This is fine. So I just start driving. I just leave a little extra room. The handbrake didn't work either, because why would it? So,
You have no brakes.
No brakes.
well, it's a 69, fortunately. So it was a dual circuit master circuit. So you had a very slight amount of brakes from the other circuit working kind
And
of,
this
sort of.
one doesn't have suicide doors, right?
No, this has
Okay.
normal doors and
Your
has
mother's
windows
has
even.
Had
Yes, because
suicide
hers is a
doors.
TF.
Right.
So this is a
But
69.
so you could open the door and throw your foot out.
Oh, yeah, I could do that. That doesn't work very well. It could be easier to put it in reverse and start rolling the clutch.
Hers was a TF and his was a WTF.
Right. I stop at a gas station on the way, for those of you from Massachusetts. It's the Burger King at the Route 24 and 495 interchange there, and get a bottle of brake fluid and fill that up and say, all right, well, I can at least try that a couple more times, stepping on the brake. So I'm just going to take it easy. So fortunately, I actually did make it back to the house, only step on the brake twice more. And that was that. But, you learn some lessons. Like when the car starts to move around a little bit, like, what's that? I don't know. It's just an old car, does weird things. Right. It's right before the tire. Let's go. So those kind of things.
Especially on and to explain it, because you said ancient retread, which
Yeah.
to anyone who knows what a retread is, that's redundant. He's saying a very old retread. But for those who don't know, this was a thing in the 70s where they would glue new tread onto old bald tires. And a lot of people had those because tires was expensive.
Yeah.
Yep.
I remember
So that's
every car my parents had retreads.
So Tim, you've driven some Hoopties stuff too. What do you got for us?
So I'll give you a story, way back story. So my first car was a hand-me-down from my stepfather, and it was a 1990 Audi 4000 5-speed. Cool little car. So I'm learning how to drive a stick. My mom's in the car with me, who knows ish how to drive a stick, but hasn't driven one in forever. So we're driving around the back roads, and we get to a stop sign, and there's a hill. And when I say hill, I mean it is like, I don't know, a 1% grade hill. Like only water would roll down this hill. That's it. So I go to take off and I stall the car. And I'm like, oh, all right. She's like, you got to let the clutch out slower. So I go to do that again. Stall the car. After like 5 minutes, I finally figure out I'm in third gear. And I was like, oh, what an idiot. Right. So then I drive away and we get closer to the house and I get to another stop sign and I go to take off and the car dies. And I was like, I didn't let the clutch out. Like, why'd the car stall? Go to turn it on. Nothing. So lucky. The timing belt blew up while I was under idle and it didn't bend any of the valves. Like,
wow,
unbelievably lucky. So I sat there thinking that like I broke the car because I stalled it so many times in third gear. My stepfather was like, no, car's broken. It's okay. That car was great. I love that car. It was like all like Audi things. The engine ran and ran and ran and ran, and everything else just disintegrated around it. So it got to the point where, the headlight switch broke. $90 for a switch. Like, and I was like, I can't keep throwing money at this. So Toyota Corolla to the rescue.
Better.
Yeah.
yeah.
What, didn't you daily a Miata without a roof?
Me?
Yeah.
It had a roof. All right. This was a Miata that we bought for $500 that needed a clutch and a top and most of an interior and various other things.
4 days before the Babe Rally.
Well, we'd bought it before then. And then all of us, 4 days before the Babe Rally when Chrissy got her Cabrio got hit by another car into a telephone pole. So we had to make a quick changeover to this completely untested rat of a Miata. So we very quickly put a clutch and a top and a stereo in it and different tires on it and sent it. And Chrissy and Allison drove that all the way to New Orleans and back. And it was completely flawless, except the fan assembly cracked 3 of the 4 like arms that hold the fan to the shroud. So we just duct taped those back and the thing just kept going.
But if I could, oh, good. I'm good. Finish your story.
Well, I was going to talk about living with it.
Yes, and I was going to interject about actually the Cabrio is actually a great story that fits in with this actual topic. So
you can add that one later.
I will add that one.
That Miata is actually, this isn't even a very good story. I daily drove the damn thing for like a year afterwards, doing basically nothing. The car didn't have a driver's side door panel at all. It just like,
we used
whatever.
that to
It's
catch
fine.
water when it rained, and
it was a great cup holder. You just stick it in the
you'd be
door.
able to just cup it. Hold it up so you can catch it.
And this is where I'm going. You were a professional. This wasn't like flipping burgers car. You had like a good job, and you just kept driving this one.
The same job he has now.
Because it worked great, and it was cheap. And I was like, all right, well, this is fine. But with the new top, it didn't leak and it ran well. And it's like, right, well, I'm just gonna keep driving this because it's great. So yeah, I did, and eventually sold it to some dude, and I don't know, I'm sure it's out there somewhere still doing ratty Miata things. That's when you could still buy $500 Miatas, like without trying that hard.
Yes. So
Miatas are fantastic.
I have a similar decision. I have a great car. It's very simple. On the way here, one of my friends texted me and said, did you bother to bring any tools? Which this trip, your MG trip, and I think a central theme in there is always, for God's sakes, carry tools. But he said, you don't even need that much. Yeah. See, but it's a 1968 car with like 9 wires. I could fix everything with a screwdriver, a wire brush, some tape, and a rock.
So you didn't bring tools with you on this trip?
Oh no, I totally brought tools with me on this trip.
Okay.
I actually the joke was he says you could fix it with these things and a hammer, and I went and rolled through my list of tools and went, I didn't bring a hammer. and said that like
Everything's
I forgot the hammer, and he goes, "Get a rock."
everything's a hammer.
Everything.
Well, and the difference between as I say this is I'm already laughing. The difference between you bringing tools for your shitty car that you just bought, you're an adult. Chris was 17 in a shitty car and was not fully aware. Right now you are, but you were not.
Oh yeah, it's the absolute trust in the universe and the bravado. That Suzuki Samurai, I bought this thing for $300 in 1999. As I drove it from the house, the exhaust fell off of it. I never did put it back on, ever.
Oh,
just
no.
drove it that way. No. And I not only drove this every day, I finally did change out the distributor, but I drove this thing to Colorado twice from Nebraska, and I drove it from Omaha to Atlanta and back. Three times.
Samurais are known for being really good, smooth, comfortable highway cars, especially
no exhaust. For that matter.
With no exhaust, and and in the summer,
I'm sure the top was in
down,
good condition. Yep.
Hard top, so it just amplified that.
Oh, jeez.
It just seemed perfectly reasonable to me, and I don't, I don't know how I made it both times, and then and I commuted in that thing as well because it ran. I didn't care either. It was fun, but that was also I was at an age where I should have known better, but didn't. No tools.
I mean, you should have known better than the trip you're currently on, but how's that going?
It's been an adventure. It's been exactly what I expected it to be. And I did, I have a small set of very tiny tools that I used to carry on the VFR, and I grabbed those and threw them in there and used them twice.
Yep.
If you had bigger tools.
If you know you've got time and you don't have anywhere to be, and you don't have much of a sense of self-preservation, and you also have enough money to, like, if things go really wrong,
bail you out.
Like, you can.
Yeah, all right, I'm renting a U-Haul.
I can push that button. Thank you.
Yeah.
That kind of gives you that safety net to do these incredibly stupid things.
And I deliberately did add the extended timeline. So bring tools and understand your timeline. Like, if there's a have to, that is not the time to crawl into your hoopty, kind of a deal. And then have that ejection. I've got roadside assistance and all of that, and I do have the means to absolutely, if the car just completely blows up, I can drag the rusting Hulk back to Nevada, where my wife will never let me choose another car ever again. So hopefully it holds.
We all know
together.
that's how it's going to end in the someday. Come on.
I don't know. This car has survived a lot of years of a lot of neglectful maintenance, and
that's usually the best kind of European cars to buy.
It's good.
It's not good, but when you guys come out here, you're going to drive it and be like, I don't agree with him, but I see why. Matt and Liz took it out for a drive, and Matt came back and said, that is probably the most Mentals Porsche that has ever existed.
Are these, is that a compliment?
Neither. It's neither an insult nor a compliment.
No, it's a mint. That's it. Yeah. I've never been a fan of the air-cooled Volkswagen engine in anything. I just don't get it.
No, it's a dressed up Super Beetle. It really, really is. But
when the engine in my MG, which is absolutely a tractor engine, is somehow both smoother and more powerful and questionably as more reliable, that's when I'm like, what? Why is this a good choice?
It's in the wrong part of the car.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway. But so, we all met doing these rallies and stuff, and Chrissy has come clean about her actual water-cooled Volkswagen obsessions. I've heard references to the Cabrio.
So all right. So I was trying to think of what year it was.
85.
No. The year that we took the Cabrio.
It was Mental. It was a year you were there too. We were all there. I mean, had to be what, 12, 14 years ago now? Probably 14 years ago.
Yeah.
Like
10 or 11.
2011, maybe.
Okay. So I decided to go on the Babe Rally. So it's New York to New Orleans. We've talked about that a few times. A bunch of us went on that in different cars. But it was nice because basically you stop along the way. Everybody makes it to the next checkpoint, pretty much like Lemons rallies are now. But that's the kind of the predecessors before Lemons was a thing. So we went. I was going to take my best friend Allison in a cabriolet. 85 and we painted it and it was beautiful. It was pink with white trim and it didn't have the daisy wheels, but we painted the wheels it had into a daisy format, so it was beautiful.
It was gorgeous.
It was amazing, and it was one of those that, like, even from like 5 feet away, the paint job was good enough that it looked
We did it in the driveway with tractor paint.
It was great. So the weekend before we went to on the Babe Rally, I took it as a test run from here to the Jersey Shore. So it's about 2 hours away, maybe a little bit more. And I took my sister and I said, okay, let's drive. We'll figure out how to get down there. Fortunately, my family was already down in the Jersey Shore. Chris is actually working on another car in
the Wartburg.
Yeah, right. In central New Jersey. So we were not far away from anything that was happening. I think the trip down was uneventful, if I recall. I don't think there was anything too wrong, but the ride home was chaos. So this was also Memorial Day weekend. We left on Memorial Day before, I think it's before you could just look on your phone and figure out where the traffic was, or we didn't care. So we ended up sitting in a ton of traffic. And the car we found had, I think, some kind of vacuum leak. And so the car...
It was D-Jet or K-Jet. It was one of those. That's all you need to know. It didn't run.
It didn't. It just ended up just bucking and would not drive at low RPMs with no air. So at some point we take a different... Oh, yeah, you're the best.
So pretty, though.
It's so pretty.
How do you not
look
love
at
that car?
Right? Isn't it so cute? So we were driving it and we're sitting in a ton of traffic. I take a different off ramp. We try to take some other back roads to get anywhere across the state to go faster than we were at the time. So at some point we're sitting in just blocks of traffic and we get to and so I tell my sister to get out and push, right? So it's cabrio, we just push it, whatever. So we push it and then a cop comes up and says, what's going on? And I said, well, the car is like not working, so we're just gonna push it. And he's like, we have like 16 miles worth of traffic that you just like can't. And I'm 10 years younger than this, right? So two girls.
This is 2010, by the way.
Pushing a pink car.
15
Thank
years
you.
ago.
Okay, right. So pushing a pink car down a back road in 16 miles, it might have been more than that, miles of traffic. And he was like, you're going to have to figure out a different way to get around here. So, so we end up doing that. We found some roads that were going to go a little bit faster, which they did. The long and short of this story and how it ends poorly is that we were driving. Somebody ends up looking at our car and they are about to rear end somebody who's it has slowed down to turn across traffic. It's a 4-lane highway. That's it's a highway, pretty fast highway. They end up looking at our car. They don't see the person in front of them. They end up to not hit the person in front of them, end up hitting us. We end up going into off the road and then hitting a light post and taking out the side of the car, telephone pole. End up taking out the side of the car, totaled the car. And,
goodness. Okay. Yeah, I laughed before I saw this picture.
You did laugh, and I was like, "This is not."
But
really
I was like, the car was the source of its own demise.
That's correct, right? So,
for the people on the podcast, the front coil spring and tire are under the passenger door. Just to put it into perspective, that's a big hit.
That's a hard hit.
It was. So kind of fortunately, their light post was there because I hit it. And if not, we would have just gone into the woods of New Jersey. So who knows what could have happened. If
Never
we
to
had
be
gone
seen
that
again.
route.
Just
Yeah. So, well, I mean, we might have, we both could have gotten hurt, died, who knows what. But totaled the car, sent my sister to the hospital. She was okay. And, we were all a little broken up. And this was 4 days before the rally. So now I call Chris. Chris comes over. Fortunately, he's still not too far away and ends up helping us with that. And then we almost died because our tow truck driver was absolutely insane. So the whole trip was just a nightmare. So
We
don't
got
push
paid
your car.
$3,800 for that car by the
That we
person's
did.
insurance company, though. So
That
that
we
was great.
did because
I
the
love being on the
guy,
phone with them.
right? The
When they
guy
said,
says, well, when we were at the accident, he was like, "Oh yeah, I definitely was looking at the car and I hit the car." So he claimed responsibility. It wasn't like we just veered off and I was texting and hit the telephone pole. He like absolutely admitted that he caused the accident. So yeah, they paid for my car.
So
talking to the insurance
another
company, they said,
rule.
"Well, what color was it?" I said, "Well, it was pink." It's okay. That's cool. I said, "How was the condition of the paint?" I said, "It was very good. I just painted it." "Oh, really? Is that what you do?" "No." "Well, where'd you paint it?" "In my
My
driveway."
driveway.
The guy's like,
Oh,
"You can do that?" It's like, "Yeah, it's not that hard."
yes. So anyway, don't push your car in some traffic, even if you think that that's going to be the right answer.
Never a good idea.
But it never a good idea. And also, there is a thing about insurance. Like, have good insurance on a hoopty like this.
Oh, and AAA.
And
AAA is
that
kind of a yeah.
And we talk about that on a gift giving guide every year, is give someone a AAA membership, because I know people that's like their entire presentation of hoopties. But if you're buying something odd or weird like this, and if you're paying like $300 for it, go for it. But if you've spent a little bit of money, or if it's an interesting enough car, it is worth picking up the phone and having the conversation with your insurance company. When I was getting the insurance on this car, and I had to call them because also they didn't recognize that there was such a thing as 8-digit VINs. So I had to explain that.
You're like, you're wrong. And you're like, no, I'm not. I'm not wrong.
Trust me on this one. But it was they're like, well, okay, we need to look and see if we can insure this car, if it's going to be worthwhile, because they'd written it off as a Volkswagen, which yeah. And then she comes back, she's like, yeah, there's going to be absolutely no problem with us insuring this car. And I laughed and said, did you look up what it was worth? Yes, we did. Absolutely. And we are good to go, Mr. Ward. So
$3 instead of
a 68 Porsche is still a 68 Porsche.
okay, fine.
Yeah. Timmy, you've got some more going on here.
Timmy, you have all kinds of stories.
All right. So I've always been a Corvette lover. My uncle, when I was a little kid, totaled 3 of them, all C3 Corvettes. He had this beautiful Le Mans blue one. He had a gold one with a white top. Drove like a maniac, just like amazing. He had killed himself. So I always I wanted to get a C3 Corvette, 69 Corvette, like the Le Mans blue, white top, white leather. Like that was my dream car, right? I was like, oh, I can't wait. Well, in 2003, I bought my first project car, and it was a 71 Corvette, which was the last year of 72, actually, was the last year of the chrome bumpers in the front and the rear. And after that, they went to one bumper, or just chrome in the back, and then none after that. So that was like the latest model I could get with the chrome bumpers. So I buy it, and it had chrome was good on it. It had 350 small block, wasn't running great. So a buddy of mine helped me put in MSD ignition in it, got it running. The big problem with that car was the entire quarter panel from the door to the rear of the car was gone. So it just cut like a perfectly cut line. So I had to get that fixed. So this is like my first dive into doing mechanical things on cars. So it's at a buddy's house. I was renting a room from him. He's a drag car guy, and so he's got a garage and he's got some knowledge, and he was helping me through it. Well, 12 months later, Amy and I moved to California, and we don't have a place for the car. So my uncle, Corvette guy, he says, "Hey, I'll store the car for you at the house until you figure out how to get it there." So it sits at his house for like 8 months, and then it gets to my mom's house, and it's there for like 3-4 months, and I finally get it set up, and I get the car shipped out to California. And so I'm in Northern California, and we're in East Bay, and just on the other side of the Altamont Pass, which is a really big hill, not as big as the Grapevine if you're familiar with that sort of thing, but pretty big, and it gets into Central Valley. Well, the car is getting dropped off in Central Valley, and I've got to go. It's like 20 miles from my house. So I get a buddy of mine to drive me out, meet the car, meet the guy with the car, pick the car up. Car fires up, piece of cake, right? Driving up the Altamont. Oh shoot! Pull off to the side of the road. Start the car up.
And that
again.
is a tall hill.
It's a legit hill. It's a legit hill.
It would overheat my car. Actually.
Yeah. So I'm like, I don't know. Like, let's turn the key, fires up, rev it up. Awesome. Put it in gear, start driving. Pull over. Well, this continues on for like 40 minutes until I get up to the top of the hill and I can coast back down to the other side. And meanwhile, we're looking up a car place on the other side of the Altamont to where we can go. And luckily there's a Corvette shop right there. So I get the car down in there, and the guy takes a look. He's like, "All right, give me the story." I said, "Well, the car's been sitting for a while, blah, blah, blah." Well, for those of you that are not familiar with it, that car on the rear deck lid has a little flap that you open up, and that's where you put the fuel in. Well, if the drain gets clogged up with dirt and crap for sitting there for 15 months, guess where the water goes? It goes up around the top and then down into the tank. So I had a bunch of water in the tank, and amazingly, the car got to the guy. We had to obviously do all the things, change all the fluids out. Luckily, it didn't do any damage to the engine itself, but I had to replace the tank, and that was a super, super interesting thing. My friend Jim, who was not a car guy, is following me, and he's like, "All I hear is you start the car up, and then you're like, vroom, vroom, vroom. Oh! You drop into gear. Oh, good. So it was like life at a third of a mile a time. It was amazing.
Oh no, that's not good.
So bad.
I lived my life a third of a mile at a time.
So bad.
And for
So
those
I was
37 minutes in between those, I think about where I could get some more fuel.
Yeah. So I was smart enough to sell that car shortly after that because I didn't have a lot of time to work on it. And then a bunch of years later, I bought a 69 Corvette because I wanted to complete my dream. This one was blue with the black interior, had a whole host of problems. The biggest one was that the floor where the driver's seat bolts to was cracked. And most of you think that, oh, just have somebody weld it. No, they didn't have metal floor pans in those cars until 73. So the 69 was a fiberglass tub. So I learned how to do fiberglass and embedded. Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, embedded all the hardware into the fiberglass. So like Chris and his sander laying under the car, it was me laying under my car getting fiberglass in my face while I was sanding all the things off.
And how old were you?
Old enough to know better. This was probably
no mask,
5 years ago.
No hearing protection, no mask. No, you're just under there. Why am I
Safety
coughing up
squints.
blood?
Oh.
Yeah.
It's a real special feeling getting fiberglass all up in
It's
your
not.
face. Yeah.
So
No.
bad.
Terrible, actually.
Yeah.
Shoot.
By the way, C3 Corvettes are horrible cars. Don't buy one.
By the way. It's sad that your dreams were ruined. It's sad
Just
that you were like,
crushed.
oh,
Yeah.
you're like, that's what I want. You're like, this is not great.
This is awful. It's terrible to drive. It's basically like if you were to bolt tires onto an aluminum ladder and then put a motor in it and drive around. That's basically what a C3 Corvette is.
Oh, it's so inspiring.
It's
Yeah.
awful.
My
I've
short
got
stint
a-
of Corvette ownership produced similar results. Most people have.
We have a Corvette fan listener. He was in the military with me, Jimmy Jet. He's got a C2 and he's been shopping for C3s. And he's hopefully we don't get angry emails from him.
Don't do it, buddy.
I mean,
I'm
he'll
on
say-
2 of them. Don't do it.
He'll say that's about right.
Yeah.
So yeah, briefly, the C4 that we had was an '84 Z51 manual 4+3 that had been sitting for 20 years before we got it. It was a friend of my father's car. It had 42,000 miles, and he gave it to me to get it back on the road because he was emotionally attached to it. So I spent so much time and effort and money getting this thing back going and fixing all of the things.
say we. I helped with this project, but okay.
You did. You didn't like that car at all, though, which I don't blame you. Anyway, I did
Yeah, I love that.
so much work on
Because
this
it had
didn't like that
overdrive.
car. You, on the other hand, Chris, were a huge fan of this.
You're not wrong.
Chrissy loved the overdrive transmission. Though.
I
That was her favorite.
I'm just more vocal than you about how much you love this car. Go ahead.
Great. So
Gigablast.
Yep, because me and you were still here.
Even
and they're not.
You start talking about Corvettes and the whole thing just goes to
It
crap.
affects everything. The whole trip. While Chris and Chris are getting this back together, the whole trip, for Christmas I got a smartwatch, and the entire trip from the time I climbed into the Porsche until I got here to San Diego, my watch refused to connect to my phone, which was 4 feet away, because it's like a technology just black hole. No, there will be no connectivity here. You don't even have a car stereo. Your
I thought you were
smartwatch
going
won't
to
work.
say that it told you.
Oh man. Oh, they're going to be so irritated.
Oh, you're in the NSX. You're outdoor biking.
So I love Chris's face right now in the Gigablast.
That is. We picked up a sentence from Chrissy though.
Oh. While they're running
So,
around.
but well, because you still haven't been broken off, and this is where I'm coming from. Is there is still, even with understanding the system of what we're going through, we all 4 of us, and Chris is the most logical, but we all have these attractions to owning these orphan, simple, terrible cars, and somehow it still brings us joy.
Yeah, like at my '59 El Camino, like it's literally a truck. Like I can't wait to just flip the trailer hitch upside down on that thing and throw airbags in it and just drag sparks down 95. It's going to be, it is not going to be a restored classic. It is going to be an absolute hot rod kind of old fun beater type of car. And it's going to be a blast.
It should. And I think that's, I've always been a Porsche guy, and that's no big, and having an opportunity to own one of these vintage ones, I know it's going to be trying. I know I'm going to bash my head on the wall trying to rewire those taillights for the 3rd time. And I'm not getting anywhere in a hurry, but just driving it, I do feel fun about that. Chris, you were coming to tell us about that vet. Oh, I think he's still Gigablast.
Anyway, I did all this work to it.
There it is.
And I go to take it on a Lemons rally. It's like I have driven it around. I take it to go to work in Maryland. Like I've tried to get the teething issues out of this thing. And I go, all right, I got to go to Lemons rally. I'm going to go to Cape Cod so that I can be ready to pick up my friend up in Boston. So I drive up to Cape Cod and I'm rolling. This is great. The air conditioning's working. The stereo's loud. Got Van Halen on because it's an 84 Corvette and what driving through Rhode Island and I'm gigablasting.
A
Just
little
a
bit.
little. Not a lot, just a little. I guess the storm is hitting Philadelphia sooner than
Yeah.
we expected.
Oh, it's a shame because that really is a good story. That Corvette just drove him insane. Yeah,
they
talking about.
they chased all of the things in that rally. It
Mm,
was such a fun little car. I mean, that C4 generation was like such a big jump in technology, but not necessarily in a good way. Well,
All right.
welcome back, Chris.
Thanks. Apparently I'm here twice. That's
Yeah.
great. That shows how well Zoom is doing that I am here in two different things. Anyway, stupid Corvette driving through Rhode Island. The damn thing all of a sudden just hiccups. Oh no. And it gets worse and it gets worse. And then like I can't step on the gas. The more I
And
step on the gas, the worse it
that's the
gets.
scenarios. What
And it gets
what
worse.
broke?
Yeah. And then you go through the next mental math of all right, where am I? What time is it? Who do I know around here? Like, who is the closest person I know who has like a shop who wouldn't be upset of me showing up in a broken Corvette, or I could get to it too. Like we're doing those. Then you stop and look around and you can say, all right, can I find anything wrong with this? No. And then it works great. You're like, well, damn it, that doesn't help me. Like, yes, it's nice. I'm going down the road more, but it doesn't solve my problem. Oh, and you can't stop it. You keep on thinking about it, and then it gets worse again. And all of a sudden, it's dark, and you're at a rest stop, and it's completely pitch black out, and you're like, I don't like things that are pitch black rest stops. It seems like a wrong place to hang out. Need to get going. So, yeah.
And so you gigablast. It's the worst. Oh, dang
The
it.
Gigablast and the Corvette are a very his 84
Yes.
are a very
There's a
good,
universal
good
tie-in
pairing.
between gigablasting and
Switch.
every time he mentions
Don't
the
get a Corvette.
Corvette.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
the Corvette worked as well.
I think we're gonna have
This
to
is the
shoot the
gigablastest
apple off the head
episode
of this
ever.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So much for the
gigablasty.
new internet and
Great
new
story,
modem
Chris.
and all those things. Yeah, thanks.
I'm
Whatever.
not making fun of anyone.
Next.
I empathize. I've been there, dude. I know that sensation. It's annoying.
Yep. Anyway, next.
Ah.
I'm done. I'm not even. I can't get through the story. The Corvette is apparently cursing the internet, so don't buy a Corvette. Is the point. Anyway.
All right. Well, with that internet, I think we should probably just put a bow on this one. But I know that people listening to this have the hoopty stories of the cars that they have owned. Share them with us. Put them down in the comments, or email us, or you guys we'll go through the whole thing where you can text me and all that kind of crap. But do that. Tell us the story of your hoopty. Tell us your most hoopty story, and give us your rules for taking a hoopty on a road trip. Because
And
ours
pictures.
were
Send us pictures of your junk.
Pictures are great. Yes, that's a really, really good one. The rules we came up with is have tools, have support, either
AAA.
AAA, roadside assistance and or
A
friends
credit
in that
card.
area. Yeah, have that exit
Cash
plan
is better.
of
I think
Cash
You
is-
need
yeah.
some cash too. Yeah.
yeah,
Both.
Uh,
Have both.
yeah. Have that exit plan to absolutely just pull it off of there, and make sure you have a very loose timeline. And rule number 5 apparently is don't buy a Corvette.
Yep. We can all agree on that. Okay.
Ish.
Ish. All right, sweet.
Buy a newer Corvette. Don't buy an old Corvette.
Many have tried. Most have failed.
Yes. Accurate.
Yeah, our friend Pantless Panelist Matt, with his new Corvette track car, went to be more competitive, actually spent an entire week pulling everything out of that car, the interior, seats, just shredding weight, about 180 pounds. And Friday night, when he goes to put the car in the trailer to bring it to the track, he realized several of those modules he needed to make it run. And he stayed up till 3 a.m. getting that ready, and then finally getting it on the trailer and then barreling into Bakersfield just to get there in time for the track to go green. So new Corvettes aren't exactly the exception to any sort of creative issues either.
I can't remember what it was, but it was something dumb. It was like this
the
thing
OnStar.
that powers
The
that powers
OnStar
the
module.
OnStar has to be connected for the car to run. You're like, what?
Yeah.
Dumb.
Oh, so dumb.
It is, but it just, again, when smart people do that, I feel so much better about myself. I'm like, okay, I don't feel bad that I connected the wire to the wrong hot fuse, because smarter people have made more glorious mistakes.
Accurate.
All right. So Chrissy, you got anything?
No, I need better internet. That's what it comes down to. Sorry.
All right.
Well, so just the tip for Chris and Chrissy, be careful while you're shoveling the snow, because
I will be careful when I'm
it's going to be
shoveling the
nasty. Falling and hurting yourself.
He comes to visit. Yes.
That's right. Well, and you guys still have the murder snowblower too, so that'll be great.
We do. Yes. I don't know that we're going to get enough of actual snow to need the murder snowblower, but
well, that's good. Please don't use that.
Oh, that's all we have. We have to.
No, you have a shovel.
Shovels are
Use
dumb.
the shovel.
No.
All right.
Are you not hearing the name murder snowblower? I would be using that one to mulch leaves.
Oh
the
man.
snowblower works really well. So
does a chainsaw.
Exactly.
I know.
It's fine. Right. Everything's fine.
Everything's fine. All right, guys. It's nice to see you.
All right. You too. What are we doing next week?
We got time.
Okay.
We'll figure it out.
Awesome.
We usually do. Get home safe, Montel. He's the actual he's the one that needs the safety. I can't wait to hear how your trip goes.
More stories
Maybe
to be continued.
Next week's story might be your ride home, and we'll see what happens.
We should do a segment on guess what happened to Mental. I mean, he could just give us like 8 different things, and we've got to choose which one it is.
Okay. And if by some horrible thing that that ends up being a memorial show, just please don't let me be a sticker on the back of a GMT 800.
You will be
forever in our hearts. Mental 1971.
You're getting the whole back windshield of the Mercedes. Oh, of the truck. We miss you, Mental.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm gonna the whole all 20 feet of the side of my trailer.
Oh yeah, we got trailer space.
Yeah.
All right, he's not dead yet. We shouldn't call it.
All right.
Be fine.
Thanks for downloading us. We hope you enjoyed this week's edition of Everyone Racers. We also hope you will join us in the world of driving, racing, and building, because everyone can be a racer, even you. If you enjoyed this podcast, subscribe. It's totally free. Then go to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. Even if you hated us, give us 5 stars and tell us why. If you have any questions or show ideas, drop us a comment on our Facebook page, Everyone Racers, or email us at everyone.racers@gmail.com. You can still text us at 484-243-0455. Find us on Instagram at everyone.racers, YouTube and Facebook under Everyone Racers, or even Reddit at /E1R. Thanks again, and until next week, keep the shiny side up. Unless there is no shiny side, then just keep those wheels down.